excited to have Mike Stagg presenting today on school crossing guard safety. This is a pretty critical thing this time of year, both for the kids and for the crossing guards.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that this time of year, September, kids have just come back to school now, or maybe some of you they're just going back to school. I know I talked to a family member of mine. Their kids just went back to school. This week is their first week of school, where my kids have been in almost a month already. But anyway, crossing guard safety. This is one of those topics that we feel that is really, really important, especially this time of year, because we want to make sure that you stay safe out there as the crossing guard, and that we keep the kids safe. We're doing what we can to make sure that those kids stay safe, and that ultimately everyone gets to where they need to go safely. So let's talk about you first as the crossing guard. Okay, the crossing guard, as far as their uniform and their gear that they would need. What we want them to have is we want them to have that stop paddle. Okay. 2 cones. Okay. We'll talk about why those 2 cones are important, and proper footwear here in just a little bit, but let's talk about high visibility clothing just for a minute. When we talk high visibility clothing, we're talking something with, retro reflective type of material in it, whether that's a vest or a hat or pants or something like that. We want something that is going to help you stay visible out on the roads. Anytime you're going to be outside of your vehicle where traffic could potentially impact you, okay? We want to make sure that you have that high visibility clothing. Make sure you're wearing it, that vest, the hat, the pants, whatever it is. Make sure that it's high visibility and it's retro reflective. Especially this time of year, you guys are probably noticing as we're getting out there this morning. I mean, it was dark at 7 o'clock this morning, right? But we have our folks who are crossing guards at high schools, crossing guards at junior highs and middle schools. They may be getting out that early to get stuff ready, to get things set up for their day. And it's dark outside. So you want to make sure that you can be seen in those crosswalks. Make sure you have that retro reflective clothing on, that high visibility stuff. Okay. Not just the clothing that is the, bright colors, but the retro reflective stuff is also super, super important. All right, so now let's talk about when you are actually there in traffic, what the paddle alerts are for. So the paddle alerts are for helping to have traffic stop. So you're not conducting traffic, okay? That's a big thing, okay? Just realize that we're not traffic conductors. What we are is crossing guards. And when you're working as the crossing guard, all you're doing is you want to alert the traffic when it's time for them to stop. So avoid misleading hand gestures, head movements, hand movements, or shifting your paddle, moving your paddle in one direction or another, okay? Because as you do that, you may be signaling to a driver to move or turn or do something that you don't necessarily want them to do, okay? So avoid those head movements, moving your head to the side and things like that. When you're stopping traffic, hold your paddle high, make eye contact with the cars in front, and hand out to say stop. That's perfectly fine, okay? But avoid signals like, turn or stop, or, faster, slower, whatever it is, slow down. Avoid those things, okay? When you're using your paddle and directing traffic in that manner, make sure that you, again, make eye contact, hold your paddle high, and don't use any kind of those misleading or distracting movements, okay? When you're ready for the kids to cross, look at the children, look at the pedestrians, and motion for them to cross, okay? Keeping your paddle high, motion for the children to cross, so that traffic knows that they should still stay stopped while you're motioning for the kids to come over. Okay. When you're on duty, some of the things that you shouldn't do, don't sit, eat, drink, especially don't smoke. Okay. Now, sitting, what we mean is we realize there's times where you may be at the crosswalk and no one wants to cross. Okay. It might be okay to sit down then, to have a chair, to sit down, take a break. It may be okay to have a snack, have your water. We definitely want you to have water out, drinking water, and staying hydrated, especially during, the afternoon time when you're out there on the crosswalk, when it's still 90 degrees here. We definitely want you to have those things. But while you're actively in the crosswalk, while you're helping to stop traffic, or while you're crossing children, or pedestrians. Don't sit, don't eat, don't drink. Have your attention specifically on that task that you're doing. Same thing goes for headphones and portable audio devices, things like AirPods and headphones, things like that. We want you to not have those when you're out there working. Okay, you need to be able to hear traffic. You need to be able to hear children. You need to be able to hear what's going on around you. Those kind of things just distract you. Same thing with books and magazines and newspapers. Okay, don't have those with you. Be there, be attentive, and be in the moment, right? Be in the moment and realize that what we're doing is super, super important. We're helping these kids or these pedestrians get safely where they need to go. Now, your cell phone. We absolutely recommend you have a cell phone. Okay, but that cell phone should only be used in case of emergencies. When you're not, you shouldn't be texting or playing your games or reading a book or watching the news or whatever it is on that phone. Keep your phone in your pocket, but we want you to have it on you in case of any kind of emergency that arises that you may need to call a supervisor, call law enforcement, dial 911. Those kind of things are perfectly okay. So have it on you, but please keep it put away. All right, so now what about weather? We're coming into a time of year. I mean, we all saw it a couple of weeks ago when it just rained constantly. And we're all coming to that. We're coming to that time of year where weather is going to become an increasing factor for us when we're out on the roads. So just some really quick things about the weather. It's going to obviously increase the stopping distance of vehicles. So you need to make sure that you're out in the crosswalk sooner, helping cars to slow down in case of in case of inclement weather. Also realize that there's poor visibility, low clouds, lights reflecting off of the water on the roads. You need to make sure you're visible. Okay, make sure that retroreflective clothing is on. Weather is also going to skew your ability to see traffic. It might skew the ability of drivers' ability to see you. So make sure that you're visible. Make sure you have that retroreflective clothing on, and really don't have any gear that blocks your vision. So here what I'm thinking of is things like umbrellas. Okay, you have an umbrella out, make sure it's not covering your face. Make sure you can see what's going on. Hold that umbrella high, hold your stop sign high. Okay, make sure you can be seen and that you can see all the other drivers and things that are going on around you. So if you're using an umbrella, you have snow shovels, things like that, make sure that none of that gear blocks your vision or blocks the ability of you to be seen. Now, as we're working with children, no physical contact with those kids. I think we all know this, but just to reiterate, no physical contact with the children, no hugs, no holding hands, no carrying kids across the intersections and things like that. No physical contact with the kids except for to move them out of harm's way. So if they're in direct harm's way, something's going to happen, or you think that they're in danger, go ahead and move them. Go ahead and make that physical contact. But otherwise, no physical contact with the kids except to move them out of harm's way. A handshake, a high five, it's probably all right. Okay, but no holding hands, no hugs, no carrying. Okay, so working with children, just try to avoid any kind of physical contact. Okay, let's talk about setup. When you first get there in the morning or in the afternoon, first thing you should do, turn on that flashing school zone sign. Okay, you want to turn on that school zone sign before you go out and place any cones inside of your crosswalk. Make sure you lock it in that on position, and then inspect the light function to make sure it's working properly. If it's not working properly, call your supervisor. But we want to make sure that these flashing school zone signs are set up and working properly before we actually get out into the road to start setting things up, start putting cones up. Anything that we do, we want the cars to start slowing down. Give them warning, give them the anticipation that yes, this is a school zone, and yes, we're in duty right now. So as far as placement of cones go, so we want to take your cones. You have 2 cones with you, at least 2 cones. Okay, 45 minutes at the maximum before school starts or school ends. Okay, we want to be out there placing those cones. Okay, so 2 cones, 1 on each line, right in the center of the roadway. Okay, we want to just give our drivers just another visual cue that something is happening that they need to pay attention to. Okay, when you're going out to put those cones in, hold your paddle super high. Make sure you're facing traffic, facing oncoming traffic as you're going out there to hold that stop sign high to stop that traffic. set your cones down, keep your stop paddle high as you're exiting the crosswalk, and don't lower it until you get to the curb. All right, now at the end of your shift, make sure you take those cones and you remove them. Again, make sure you hold your paddle high, facing traffic the whole time you're out in that intersection. Now, our crossing guard friend here in this photo, not doing too good of a job, right? Number one, not in the crosswalk. Number two, not holding a stop paddle high. We see this too much, though. We see this where where a crossing guard will hold their paddle high up in the air as they're going out to pick up the cones. Once they pick the cones up, though, they lower the stop paddle and walk in the crosswalk back to the curb. Keep your stop paddle high. Keep it in the crosswalk as you're going back, and don't lower that stop paddle until you get to the curb. Okay, and always remember to turn off the flashing lights and lock them down into that off position. As far as helping kids to cross safely, okay, look left, look right, and then look left again. Then you can enter the intersection, okay, and verify that all vehicles stop when you have your stop paddle high. Never assume that cars will stop for you. Okay, Ronald Reagan had a saying, right? Trust but verify. We want to do that same thing. We want to trust that those cars are going to stop, but we want to verify that they're going to actually do it. Okay, so never assume that cars will stop for you. Don't wait for kids who are not ready to cross. Okay, motion for them to wait. If they're not ready to go yet, when you're ready for them to go, okay, motion for them to wait, and they can wait for the next cycle for when you can cross them safely again. Stay alert and keep an eye on the traffic. Know that there are drivers who may not stop, may not see you. And those greatest risk of those drivers who may not see you is coming from turning vehicles. Okay, they're looking right, they're looking left, they're seeing a gap in traffic, and they think, oh, good, I can make it. They try to enter, and you're standing right in the middle of the intersection with a stop sign that they didn't see. Okay, so your greatest risk as a crossing guard when you're crossing is from vehicles turning. So be aware of that. Make sure you always stay aware. Never assume that the driver is just going to stop for you just because you're there. Now, if you are working a crosswalk with a traffic signal, make sure you assemble everybody one step back from the curb. A lot of these kids are going to like to assemble right on the curb. So when you're out there and you're ready to go, they can just run across and be good. Okay, give them a barrier. Okay, set the rules. Say, hey, step back from the curb, and make sure that they stay safe. Make sure everyone walks across the intersection. A lot of kids are riding their bikes to school, right? A lot of kids ride their bikes down to school. It's fun for them. They love it. But make sure that they don't ride across the crosswalk. They get off their bike and they walk their bike across the crosswalk. Press the button for the cross signal and then wait for that walk signal. Once that walk signal comes on, check traffic. Make sure that it's clear. Again, now into your intersection, holding your paddle high while holding the pedestrians and the kids or the crossers back at the curb. Okay, you want them to wait until you've gotten to your spot at the center of the intersection. Once you're in the intersection, position yourself in the walk and you're facing oncoming traffic. Hold that stop paddle high. Final check. Make sure the traffic has completely stopped, and then motion for the kids to now come across the intersection. When the last child reaches the curb, then go ahead and leave the roadway. Don't ever leave the roadway or the crosswalk while you still have people inside of the crosswalk. Okay. Once the last kid reaches the curb or the last pedestrian, go ahead and keep your paddle held high, keep facing traffic, and exit the crosswalk. And finally, only lower your paddle when you get to the curb. All right. If the signal changes while you're inside the intersection to don't walk, okay, finish the kids who are crossing, let them cross. Tell the others to stay back, and never have them cross against the signal. Okay. If the signal changes to don't walk, make sure that you clear the intersection and then hold your stop paddle high as you get out of the intersection. Now, many of you have maybe seen these new Hawk systems that are out there on the roads. And they just put one in my neighborhood just this year. And it's a great thing. It's a great improvement for our school zone. These signals, they operate in a yellow and then a solid red and a flashing red sequence. Okay, just like a regular crosswalk signal, they're only going to operate when you actually push the button to say you need to cross. One of the biggest differences, though, with these Hawk systems is that there is no flashing school zone sign that accompanies this kind of crosswalk. Okay, now that's something that I didn't know before this year. when they put in this Hawk system, they took out the school zone signs. So be aware that if there's a Hawk system and you're at that crosswalk as a crossing guard, there are no flashing school zone signs. There's no 20-mile-per-hour school zone signs for the drivers to be aware of. Okay, so this is where we have to be extra vigilant in making sure that we're following the right protocols, that we push the button and we wait for traffic to stop before we go out to the intersection. Okay, your same procedure applies here in the Hawk system as it did to a regular crosswalk. Push the button, wait for the walk signal, you enter the intersection, stop paddle held high, keep the kids back. Once they're ready to enter once you know traffic has stopped and you verified that, then motion for them to come across. Okay, everything works the exact same as a regular crosswalk. All right, for crosswalks without traffic signals, again, it's the same procedure, except you got a couple of things to now worry about, right? There's no traffic signal to tell cars to stop. So what you want to do is look and wait for a break in traffic. Once you get that break in traffic, raise your stop paddle before you enter that crosswalk. Raise the stop paddle, hold it high. Enter the crosswalk, traffic facing oncoming traffic. Verify traffic is stopped before allowing kids to cross. Okay. Now, what about these unexpected situations that we have arise? Okay, cars not stopping, lights not working, careless motorists, folks who are negligent, who are ignoring your signals. Make sure you have a list of emergency contacts. Make sure you have your supervisor. Make sure you have law enforcement. Make sure you have 911, those things that are programmed into your phone so you can make a quick phone call if you need to. If the lights aren't working, call your supervisor. If there's a careless motorist who isn't obeying your traffic signals, never confront those people. Okay, don't get out in the intersection and don't start waving your paddle and kicking and screaming and throwing your paddle and things like that. Okay, don't confront those people. Take a license plate number, call law enforcement, report those negligent drivers to law enforcement. Now, when we do report those dangerous drivers, make sure if you can, grab a plate number, grab their make, model, and color of their vehicle, the description of the driver, what exactly they did and when they did it, and the violation. They weren't obeying my signals to stop. They were encroaching on the crosswalk. They went through a stop sign. They were going over 20 miles an hour in the school zone. Okay. Those are things that your cell phones can be a great help with. Take a picture of the license plate of the vehicle. Okay. But remember, we're not law enforcement. Okay. Don't enforce the rules. Don't enforce these traffic signals and traffic rules if they're not obeying you. Take note of it and call law enforcement and let them come and do it. Let them confront those negligent drivers. We want to keep you safe. Okay. We don't want you to be confronting those drivers on your own. Now, as far as we have seen, unfortunately, some injuries from our crossing guards. Most of them fall within the slip, trip, and fall category, right? Slipping and falling and being out when they're out in the roadways. We've had a few being struck by vehicles and then strains from lifting things up. So what can we do to avoid some of these things? Number one is have proper footwear. Okay. One of the things that I see now is you have crosswalks or crosswalk folks out there, crossing guards working with sandals or with slip-on shoes or flip-flops or whatever they are. Okay, it's nice outside. You want to wear that. Okay, we should be wearing shoes that are good for the situation. Okay, something with a lot of traction. Boots with ankle support are great to wear so we don't twist our ankle going up and down the curb. Okay, make sure that traction is appropriate. So we would encourage not to wear those sandals and slippy footwear and things like that. Make sure you have some good grip shoes. Now, if there's snow and ice, you might have to shovel that. You may have to put ice melt or salt down. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to call the supervisor and say, hey, I need some help. We've got 18 inches of snow here that I'm trying to clear a sidewalk or an intersection for to make it safe for these kids to cross. I need some help getting this cleared. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for assistance in those situations, but we should also be aware of the ground underneath us and make sure we're wearing shoes and footwear that's appropriate for those situations. Now, what can we do to avoid being struck by a vehicle? I think the biggest thing is just to stay visible. We talked about this retroreflective clothing, right? Can they see you? Can you see them? Okay. Make sure nothing's blocking you. Make sure you don't have an umbrella out that's blocking. Make sure you have your retroreflective clothing on. Anytime you enter that intersection, you need to have your stop paddle. You need to hold that stop paddle high. You need to have your retroreflective clothing on. Keep your eye on traffic. Always look at the traffic that's oncoming, okay? Face that way, hold your paddle high, stay visible. But also be aware of those rear end collisions. We may get the first car to stop. We may get the second car to stop, but the third car may be looking at their cell phone, taking a bite out of their Egg McMuffin in the morning, okay? Arguing with the kids in the back about getting homework done. And they may not see. It may run into the car, it may rear end the car and in front of them, that then pushes that car into you. Be aware of your surroundings. That's why it's so important that we don't have our cell phones out, that we're not listening to music in our AirPods. Okay, take the headphones out, put the cell phones away, pay attention to what we're doing so we can stay safe and we're not hit or struck by anything that shouldn't be. Now, as far as strains go, okay, we see these strains a lot, mostly in the wintertime. Folks are picking up the ice melt bucket. Maybe, we've seen them with folks even picking up the cones, okay, picking up and putting out the cones. So when you're moving things, keep them close to your body, okay? Hold it, pick it up close to your body, maintain good posture, move your feet first and face the load. Don't twist and move your upper torso without moving your lower body first. And the same goes for lowering the load. Okay, make sure you keep it close, maintain that good posture, use your legs, not your back. Okay, we've all heard these things about strains and lifting. Let's just make sure that we do it when we're as the crossing guard too. Even something that you feel is as light as moving a cone. Okay, keep it safe, keep it close, and make sure that we're doing it the right way. So really, you guys as crossing guards, you guys do a fantastic job. It's one of those thankless jobs. And we just want to make sure that you guys are doing everything you can to keep the kids and yourself safe. Make sure you have the right gear for the job and the weather, and make sure you stay visible. Wear your retroreflective clothing, the vest, the hat, the pants, whatever it is that is retroreflective, that's going to reflect light, and make sure that people can see you. Avoid those misleading signals. Remember, we're not conducting traffic. All we're doing is stopping traffic so that we can have kids safely cross with us at those crosswalks. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you today. Jason, do we got any questions? How are we looking?
Folks, if you got questions or comments, please type those into the chat box and we'll get Mike to answer those right now. We don't have a lot in there, but man, you've covered some really important stuff. We always think of school crossing guards as being there for the kids, which they are, but we got to be watching out for those crossing guards.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty significant injuries over the years. Don't be afraid to open your mouth and say, "Hey, it's really icy out here. Can you bring a snowplow over and throw down a little bit of salt there?" And
Yep.
don't be afraid to do those.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's right, for sure. I'm waiting for questions. We had one question in the first session.
Yeah, we had a question in the first session about what if a car is stopped on your crosswalk? What do you do? Well, you want to make sure you clear that car. Okay, don't bring the kids out. Don't bring anybody out into the intersection before that car has had a chance to move. Maybe it's a drop-off line and the cars are backed up into the crosswalk. Okay, make sure you clear that crosswalk, and maybe you have to wait a cycle to get that car cleared out. Make sure that car is cleared out before you have any kids cross or you enter that intersection.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not seeing any other questions here, but I just, observation here in North Salt Lake where the trust is, we've had a lot of construction going on around here. And so the crossing guards have had to deal with that. And I've just really been impressed with them, with all the increased traffic.
Yeah.
And all there. So let's see, we've got it says, let's see, is a high traffic area. Some of this information seems to be not quite right for that area. Thunder Ridge. I'm not familiar with.
I'm not familiar with Thunder Ridge's app.
So maybe you could contact Mike offline. Oh, in Saratoga Springs. Okay, maybe that's something we could take offline and look at some specifics there.
Yeah.
As far as how that goes.
Yeah, Lindy, give me a call or send me an email. I'll put my email here in the chat box. and my phone number. Go ahead and give me a call or send me an email when you get a minute, and we can chat about that for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks, folks. We appreciate you taking some time to talk about this important subject today. Mike, any final words?
Nope. I mean, just go out and be smart, right? Keep your eyes on traffic. Make sure you always are visible. Stay visible. Retroreflective clothing, holding your paddle high, those kind of things. Just do it safe.
Awesome. Great. Everybody go out and have a safe day. It looks like we have one other question here. We'll wrap that up and then answer this question. Would you recommend body cameras because it's difficult to remember numbers and as cars speed past? And will this recording be sent to us to use? Yeah, so a couple of questions on there. I'll take the recording. We're recording this session. We'll put it up on our YouTube channel. So if you go to Utah Local Governments Trust, search for that in YouTube, and it will be the first thing presented probably this afternoon. We'll see how the time goes if I can get that uploaded. And then what about body cameras, Mike? What do you think?
You know, I think if there's the ability to have them, I think they're great. They could definitely help. Do I think they're needed? Probably not. But do I think that they are? Would they be great tools to have if your department has the ability to have you have them? Absolutely. I mean, it's going to protect you. It'll hopefully help protect the drivers and protect the kids.
Yeah, great. And another comment here. We're wrapped up, folks, if you want to go. But another great comment from Amanda. We've also had issues with wasp nests in the lights. So yeah,
oh yeah,
like that of being aware. Says our public works department is great to get out and have them removed. So yeah, awesome comment there of some of those other hazards that might be around and just being aware that, hey, the first time we go out there in the late summer, those wasps may have moved in. So
yep.
Yeah. Use your public works folks, use your police department to help out there, and let's be safe. All right. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everyone.